Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I'm Ginny Steele. I'm the University Librarian here at UCSC, and I cannot tell you how happy I am to be here at this event, to see all of you, and to be able to celebrate the new, revitalized, and expanded McHenry Library. It's been a long time coming. It is. In fact, there may be some people here who weren't even born when planning started, because the planning for this actually began in 1993. Long before I was at UCSC, the planning was started by my predecessor, Lan Dyson, and Bob White, and they worked very hard and convinced the campus that this was a high priority and it needed to happen. So construction started in 2005 with the addition, which is right behind me, being built first. And then in 2008, we moved everything out of the existing building into the addition and completely gutted the existing building pretty much down to the exterior walls. So if any of you were here and walked by the building at that time, you know it was really taken apart, including excavation underneath the building to stabilize it. So it was quite a project. Along the way, we had multiple moves of staff in the library. I think everyone moved at least twice, and some more than that. We had a fire. We had budget cuts that led to changes in the building program and other assorted crises and challenges. Fortunately, our senses of humor and patience prevailed. But when I think about this project, I think of the roller coaster down at the boardwalk. And I think that we didn't need to pay for that thrill ride that we had at the beach. We had it right up here on campus, living it day in and day out. So the original McHenry Library was designed by John Carl Warnecke, and it opened in 1996. A second phase of the building was constructed and opened 10 years later, and then the building remained the same until the construction started in 2005. So we thank today not only John Carl Warnecke, the original architect, but also Bora Architecture from Portland, Oregon, and I know the team is here today from Bora to celebrate with us. We thank them for really refreshing the building, expanding it, remaining true to the architectural ideals that John Carl Warnecke had established and that were established by Dean McHenry for the campus, particularly the vertical columns that are meant to mirror the redwoods. I think the whole architecture of the building really magnifies that sense of the architecture. So as most of you know, the building is named for the founding Chancellor of UCSC, Dean McHenry, and he was responsible for much of the campus as it is today. We're proud to have his name on the building. I also want to recognize Donald Clark and be sure to mention him. He was the founding university librarian, and he was really instrumental in establishing the library as the central part of the campus. So we moved into McHenry Library last June, and since then it's been like moving houses, only a much bigger scale. We've been unpacking boxes and getting settled. In fact, even this morning, furniture was arriving and we were putting things into place and hanging pictures on the wall. But when the building opened over the summer, people began to come in, and then in the fall, when the students came to campus to start the fall quarter, it was amazing. It was so heartwarming for us all to see the students just flock in, find their spot in the library, sit down, start studying, and treat it as though it had always been there. It was something that seemed very natural to them, but to those of us who lived through the project, it seemed like magic, finally. So the building is now the largest building on campus. It is heavily used. Usage of the library has more than doubled. And we know that during finals, it's hard to find seats. We see students sitting on the floor and taking books and shelves and whatever they can find to create more study space. So that's the best marker of success that we could possibly have. McHenry Library is truly the rejuvenated intellectual heart of the campus, as Dean McHenry described it. So this afternoon, we wanted to take a few minutes to talk about the library and to have several speakers. And then we hope you'll spend some time touring around the building, checking out the various different areas. We have librarians who are prepared to do demonstrations for you and to show not only some of our public spaces, but also some of our behind-the-scenes spaces that usually aren't open to visitors. I also encourage you to stop and check out our new donor recognition board that's on the second floor inside the library security gates. This is our way of recognizing all the very generous people who made this project actually happen and who helped fund this lawn we're on, many areas of the building, and much of the technology that's in the building. With the budget situation the way it was, we couldn't have done it without our donors, and we are deeply grateful to you. So as I indicated, we'll have some speakers today who will talk about the role of the library on the campus. The first of our speakers is Chancellor Blumenthal, and we're so happy that he's here. He's been a source of wonderful moral and financial support along the way. And I know that he worked in his local library when he was growing up, so we know that he has a deep understanding of and appreciation for libraries. Chancellor Blumenthal.
Thank you so much, Ginny. This is a great occasion, and I'm so delighted that all of you are able to be here and join us for this rededication of the McHenry Library. You know, Ginny mentioned the people, thanked a number of people who were crucial to getting this project finished, but I particularly want to mention two people, Lan Dyson and Ginny Steele herself. This was a long project. It took their vision, their dedication, and even more than that, their determination to get this done. We've had a number of bumps along the way, you know, including a fire. I mean, what's worse than a fire in a library? And they, along with our campus planners and architects, worked very hard to get it done. But even then, it wasn't easy. Meeting the budget requirements of the state of California for the library was extremely difficult. And in fact, even when I came into office, there was talk of not having enough money to get this done, and maybe we should just leave the building as a shell. I mean, who wants to build a shell? And so we didn't let that happen. And they did some value engineering. That's a really funny term. Value engineering really means taking value out of the building to save money. So they did everything possible to make it happen. And we particularly are appreciative of our donors and private support, without whose help we simply could not have gotten this project finished. So I particularly want to thank those of you who supported us in so many ways to get this done. I'm grateful to you all, and today this rededication is an opportunity to celebrate that. And as Ginny indicated, it is a success. Student visits to the library, as she said, have doubled. That's no small matter. And so it's become a campus destination for students on a daily basis. Now, just stop and think for a minute. We're a campus which has 10 colleges, all with their own communities, but we don't really have a center of this campus. And that's one of the roles that the library is now filling, as a center of activity for the UC Santa Cruz campus. And it shows. It's enlivened this area of the campus. It's got great food too, a new cafe. I mean, to those of us who grew up many years ago, the idea of food in the library is almost an oxymoron. And yet, that's been a great and successful part of what the library has done. And I've enjoyed it. I've been here. I've already filmed 2 videos in the library because I so much enjoy this environment. And the reason I enjoy it is because it's a library of the 21st century. Again, going back at least to my youth, in my youth, even when I worked in a library, I thought of libraries as repositories of books. That's what libraries were. They were repositories of books with librarians who walk around and say, shh, all the time. Well, that's not what this library is. This library is something very different. Yes, it does have books, but it's also got access to electronic books. But more importantly, it's a place that we support students and we support scholars in a wide variety of ways. Students are able to meet here. They're able to have discussions with their student colleagues and their study groups. It's a beautiful area, and it blends form and function so that students can interact, they can study, they can eat. There's no real reason for students to leave this building. No, that's not true. But it really performs many functions for students at this university. And it's a product of people with vision and heart. So this library is the heart of the university, and we achieved it with the kindness of friends. So thank you so much for your friendship and support. And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Alec Arago, who is the district director for the offices of Sam Farr in the region. Sam Farr is our local congressman. He is a strong supporter of the campus and the library. Sam is somebody whose values embody our values as a campus, our value of social justice. Sam himself served in the Peace Corps. He's sorry he can't be with us for this event today, but Alec is a very able stand-in for him, and so please join me in welcoming Alec Arago.
Good afternoon. As Mr. Blumenthal said, I am Mr. Farr's district director, and I'm not Sam, so I apologize for that. We didn't quite win the scheduling race to get him back here to California, so I apologize for the misleading advertising in the program. I have a little more hair, though. I'm an alumnus of this university, probably not quite so long ago as some of you, and unfortunately quite a bit longer than others. I was here in the 80s, and I spent a lot of time in the old building, and this is the first time, well, maybe I've been here since then, but it's the first time I've been back in the building in any kind of meaningful way since about 1989, and first thing I noticed was the cafe. That's a remarkable improvement. I'm here on behalf of Congressman Farr. He's, like I said, he was coming back. So in preparing for this, I asked him, what would he want me to share, and what he wanted to focus on, and what he would talk about is his family's connection to this site, and really going back to his father, Fred Farr. If any of you remember, Fred was a state senator from this area in the mid-50s through the mid-60s, and was involved in the legislative fight about where to put that new UC campus. Was it going to be in Fresno, or was it going to be in Santa Cruz? And Fresno had to wait to win that fight much later. But so that was part of picking Santa Cruz, and Fred was involved in the university in a lot of ways until his death in the 90s. But he was on the foundation board, and part of those early conversations about the need to renovate this building. And I'm really impressed with it. I wrote this speech, kind of right up there. And it's a really wonderful space. And I think Sam is really touched. He was involved as a legislature, when he was in the state legislature, in getting funding for the science library, and can attest to the struggles for funding these facilities. And of course, with today's budget world, it's only getting harder. I'm just going to close with my own personal experience. UCSC meant a great deal to me in my own professional career. Number one, Sam has a habit of hiring UC alumni, so it means why I'm standing here. It helps explain that. And I met my wife in the dorms. We're a Friday night dorm fling that lasted past 1986, and so I have a daughter now who's about to start high school, and so I've got to start thinking about college and what that entails, and so and the terrifying prospect that means. And so I'm glad to know that there are places like this. And UCSC joins CSUMB, which just inaugurated its first library, as really world-class institutions. I think the other thing Sam wanted to leave me with is just how important this kind of investment is to our civilization. It means a lot to, obviously, the education of individual students, but frankly, in how our country, our state, and our country can grow. College education has, it's kind of reflection of kind of the times we're in, but there's a sort of a national debate, I guess, if you can call it that, about the value of university education. It's kind of remarkable to see that even the existence of universities and the value was sort of was being debated in the presidential race. But I think this kind of investment really underscores, and Sam wanted to reflect that, underscores the commitment to make this project last. And you know, these immediate budget hurdles, will pass them, and this facility and facilities like it, and the future extension that, you know, that's going to go over there when you need it, will also testify to that. I just started a fight. I'm just the mayor here. He's gonna where are you going to get the water for that? So I'll leave it with that, and thank you.
Well, thank you, Alec and Chancellor Blumenthal. I'm now delighted to introduce Jessie Wilkie, who is an alumna. She graduated in 2010. She was also a library student employee, so we were able to fill her head with things library. And she was one of the very small group of students who really worked hard to promote a student referendum that ultimately passed, that has enabled the library to extend its hours back to what they were before the budget cuts got so bad. And that was a remarkable feat for the students to pass that, and we are delighted that Jessie was willing to come back to talk about how that happened, what happened, and why the library is important to students. So, Jessie?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Jessie, as Ginny just said, and I'm proud to be a UCSC alumni. Today, I have the great honor of speaking in front of you all in order to rededicate this extraordinary library to all present and future banana slugs, and everyone else who will be involved in this remarkable community. My connection with the UC Santa Cruz Library is multifaceted. Not only did I use the library as a student, but my involvement went much further than that. This institution employs more than 100 students, and during my time at UCSC, I was one of them. Working here helped me pay for my tuition, taught me what it was to work, and really educated me on the inner workings of the library. A great deal of my time at UCSC was spent here at the library. Whether I was studying or working, this place was like a second home to me. I grew to understand how it operates, the people who work and study here, and the challenges it faces. My increasingly astute awareness and growing bond with this institution led me to help develop and pass Measure 42 during my senior year. This student referendum was designed to provide funds from the students themselves to help support the library through the rough economic times. The measure was the fourth most popular in university history, with an overwhelming 84% approval rate, which was indicative of the strong student support for the library, a level of support that I hope continues long into the future. The library was an invaluable part of my college experience, and I have confidence that this also holds true for anyone who has used the library's resources, because I believe the library is truly the heart of the university. I've witnessed people from all backgrounds come here to socialize, to learn, and to better themselves. This establishment exists to help people achieve their academic and intellectual goals. I can't speak to what other people's goals are, but I can provide my own personal testament, for I've used this library and watched it develop. I recently toured the library, and I was shocked and pleasantly surprised to see how much the library has evolved, even in the past few years. For one, McHenry wasn't finished upon my graduation, but as you can see today, it is not only done, it's also magnificent. After this ceremony, I urge you to take one of the tours that will be given and see for yourself some of what I'll be describing in the next few minutes. I started my tour here at the library in the entrance hall, where the new Global Village Cafe impressed me as a place where people could grab a bite to eat and check out the world news. As I continued into the library, I couldn't help but notice the information commons. This is a high-tech hub where students can access online resources like their email, or they can print up papers or class notes. It is very similar to the computer labs that I used, and I imagine just as helpful. While I climbed the library floors, as you can see, there are 4 of them, and it's not an easy feat. I noticed the tasteful design, movable stacks of books, seating areas, and multiple computer stations scattered along the way. The seating, I recently found out, was constructed from the original 1960s tables and chairs. This throwback to the founding era isn't just voguish. It's also sustainable, functional, and current, with internet and power connectivity being new additions to these vintage fixtures. As I continued on my tour, I realized it wasn't only a trip down a greater historical timeline, but it was also a walk down my own memory lane. When I got to the group study rooms, I remembered the countless occasions using them. While working on team projects or studying in groups, my peers and I would gather together to make use of the private space and the chalkboards to generate ideas. These new study rooms that you'll see possess an extra feature to the ones I used: high-tech monitors that can be used along with the study room's more traditional features to help heighten the learning experience. In addition to the times I went to the library for group study, I fondly recall all the time spent alone, studying, researching, and working toward my college degree, the reason we all come to university. Even though I was studying alone, I still felt a deep sense of community. Just being at the library, surrounded by other knowledge seekers, makes you feel like you're part of something bigger. It's a magical and welcoming feeling. Beyond the community, there were so many more resources at my fingertips, whether it was the long hours, Wi-Fi, computer labs, course books on reserve, printers, or whatever else I needed. I always took advantage of what the library had to offer to help me with my studies and intellectual endeavors. Another fact I discovered throughout my experience with the library was that I didn't have to be within its walls to realize its benefits. I believe this is taking on a whole new meaning with the modern-day advances in technology. The library has stayed current by providing an impressive suite of e-resources. These resources can be accessed from anywhere with an internet connection. They include an online booking system for study rooms, electronic journals, digitized books, how-to guides, and chat with the librarian software. These e-resources and the digitization of media are signs that the library is keeping up with the times. There are a few things I know for certain. The world has changed a great deal since the university was founded in the 1960s. Technology has advanced, making the world smaller and more connected, but opportunities have arisen as a result. The library undoubtedly has been affected by this change, but has also taken advantage of the opportunities. I have seen the library as an institution transform from my childhood until today. I have taken special notice of the changes the UC Santa Cruz Library has gone through in the past 6 years, and it has adopted, even embraced, these new technologies as a chance to grow and provide value to its users. The library is a house of knowledge, whether the knowledge comes in the form of web pages or in the pages of books. The library keeps the door open, and I hope it stays open for many generations to come. I hope that people make use of this precious library, come to appreciate it and everything it stands for, and maybe someday even give back in their own way and do their part to keep the doorway to knowledge open and accessible to all.
Thank you, Jessie. That was wonderful. So now the next portion of our program is to have Jessie and Chancellor Blumenthal do the official ribbon cut for McHenry Library. So I know somebody has some scissors, and are they here? Oh, here they are.